Good morning, everybody. It's Diane Gale here from the blog sustainableslowliving.com, and I wanted to hop onto video early this morning and show you something really quick because it's something that I love to utilize during the winter months. And even now that we're heading more towards spring, we're we're into the second week of March. It's also a great addition to my springtime meals. So that is sprouting. Now, I am no expert on sprouting. I have only been sprouting for a little more than a year. I have, of course, been eating sprouts for a lot longer than that. But this is a food source that can be done on your kitchen counter. It can be done any time of year. It provides a great deal of nutrition, micronutrients, and I mean, there's really no reason not to be doing it. You can purchase a lot of different sprouting supplies, and there are things that I'm looking at now that I'm, finishing up my second winter sprouting, and I really realize that it is a kind of a big part of my diet. I don't sprout a whole bunch, maybe a half a dozen, maybe a few more batches, between 6 and 10 batches, I guess, each winter. I'm going off the top of my head, but I do enjoy it, and I love the nutrition that it provides. And it's so easy to do. And the thing that I love about it is, while you can purchase different supplies to make it easier or to expand how much you want to grow, which is what I would like to do for next year. I want to buy like a tray system where I can sprout all different kinds of sprouts all at the same time. You can start with next to nothing, literally next to nothing. If you have a canning jar, this is a quart-sized canning jar, I like the wide mouth, and you have the rim of the lid to go with it, and you have some kind of cheesecloth or muslin. I actually use this. This piece is already cut, as you can see. I've cut pieces out of it for sprouts. But this comes from my local Amish store, and I guess it's muslin, I guess. That's what I would think that it is. It costs me $1.99 for this. You can see how big it is. And I have cut two pieces of cloth out of it for sprouting. So, I mean, it's super economical. So if you have a jar and you have a lid and you have some kind of material to drain, a coffee filter can be used for larger seeds. And I prefer to use that because this is really only going to last one time. It's going to all discolor, and I mean, I guess you could probably clean it in some way, but I don't. So a coffee filter is disposable. For little tiny, we're going to use alfalfa seeds today, and you probably can't see how tiny they are, but they're small. And when you use a coffee filter, you have to poke holes in it with a pin. So I wouldn't try with like an alfalfa seed, but a mung bean or a lentil, like they're big. And so you can just put a coffee filter on here instead of the material when you sprout and poke little holes in it, and then you have a disposable cloth. So, I mean, this is it. If you have this and some water, you can sprout. And this is the way that I've been doing it for 2 years. What I'm going to show you today created this jar of sprouts. So it's a nice full jar of alfalfa sprouts. They are so fabulous. So yeah, this is one batch. And alfalfa sprouts kind of quickly. This was probably maybe 5 days, maybe 6 days in the making. So that's a nice little harvest for just a few days, right? Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut a piece of this cloth to fit over the top of this jar. I don't usually have a lot of ingenuity when it comes to doing simple tasks like this. So there might be an easier way to do this, and if you can think of one, please just let me know. But what I do is I just trace this lid, and a rough trace. I'm not doing anything fabulous here. Can't see what I'm doing, but I trace it, and then I just mark around the edge one width for the lid, because you're going to need that, because the cloth is going to screw down underneath that edge of the lid. And then I'm just going to mark another width, because you're going to want a little bit of overhang in order to provide a little bit of stability for your cloth, so that it's not being pulled out when you're trying to drain your seeds, or you want it screwed in there tight, and you want it to stay. You don't want it to wiggle its way out. So there you go. I mean, that's pretty basic. And this, by the way, is just a thin piece of cardboard. It's actually from dehydrated nuts and seeds and fruit that I give to my dog. And a thin is nice, because this is nice and sturdy, and it's going to work well to create a pattern for the fabric, but it is not going to be hard to cut through like a regular piece of cardboard would. So that's what we have. It's pretty basic. And then I am just going to take my marker and very unevenly draw a haphazard circle around the outside. I have to tell you that my circle came out a lot better when I wasn't doing it on camera. But there, right? So we have the basic size that we need for the cloth. Shape is not important. Again, like I said, you're throwing this away. So we're going to cut this out. So there we go. You have got a rudimentary circle. That's not really a circle at all. And that's really okay. And then I'm just going to take and I'm going to lay it out on this fabric, trying to waste as little as possible, because, waste not, want not, as they say, right? Sometimes up here in the North Woods, for me, it's less about saving the cost. Like I said, this fabric is super affordable, but the Amish store isn't incredibly close to me, and making a trip there sends me out of my way all the time. So I try to conserve things often, not only because of cost, but because availability of most things here is pretty sparse. And you've probably heard me say that on this channel, who knows how many times. So I'm going to cut this circle out of this fabric, and this can be done a lot quicker than you see me doing it here, but I don't know why. I get a little funny about the marker not showing on the pattern. It's a personal thing, I guess. Okay, so there we go. We have a little misshapen round of fabric to use for our lid for our jar. So, like I said, today we're going to do some alfalfa sprouts. I have sterilized this jar, and I have sterilized the lid. One of the things that you want to pay attention to with sprouts is that you want to start with sterile products, and then you want to pay attention to keeping them kind of clean. Especially if you're doing this on your kitchen counter. You want to make sure that you don't have things bumping up against your lid and contaminating your lid with bacteria, etc. But that's very easy to do. Each seed that you use is going to have a different amount that you're going to want to put into your jar if you're using a quart jar, because each seed is going to produce a different amount of sprouts. And basically what you want to end up with is you want to end up with a full jar of sprouts. You don't want to end up with too many. They're going to get crowded out. They're going to start to decay in there. And you don't want to end up with too few, because why would you waste energy and time producing a jar of sprouts if you really only end up with half a jar of sprouts? I don't have anything in my blog post that's associated with how much of each kind of seed to use, because like I said, I haven't been doing it that long. But I do have a link to another website, WHOLEFULLY.com, which I find to be a very useful, very credible website. And they have an amazing chart that tells you how many seeds you need to use in a jar, how long you need to soak them for. I think it might even give you like an average of how many days it takes for them to sprout. It's a great chart. And I'm also going to link that down below this video. So if you want to check that out, you can. And it'll also give you a full list of, well, a pretty big list of different seeds that you can sprout. And of course there's some of that information in my blog post as well. So make sure you go when you check out my post, and make sure you go when you check out that post so that you know how many seeds to use. But with alfalfa seeds, these are organic sprouting seeds that I can pick up right at the Amish again. And these are the only ones that they have. They only have alfalfa. So when I want to do anything else, I have to order online. So I do alfalfa most often, but mung bean was the first one I ever did. And it is by far my favorite because I like to do Asian stir fries, and mung beans are perfect for that. Alfalfa is terrific for, well, I mean for anything, and you can use it in a stir fry, but I like to use alfalfa for on top of sandwiches, to add to my salads, to put in omelets. I do sometimes put them in soups and in smoothies because of the nutrient value that they add. But what I really enjoy them is that crispy crunchiness on top of a sandwich, or in an omelet. You put it in at the last minute so that it doesn't really cook out the crunch, and it's fabulous. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of these seeds in a quart jar. And then I'm going to go fill this jar up with water, because your seeds are going to have to soak. Now, like I said in that chart, they're going to tell you different amounts of time that you want to soak your seeds, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to crack the shell of the seed. I'm not going to lie, I basically soak my seeds overnight. I drain them in the morning, and then the sprouting process is usually ready to begin. I haven't had any trouble doing this, but you may come across seeds that would give you an issue. So you can take the chart very seriously, and you can use their recommended times, or I don't know, you could just fly by the seat of your pants the way that I do and try it overnight, and if it doesn't work out, well, you can always try again. But right now I'm going to fill this up with some water. Okay, I brought a bowl back too, because I'm not going to drag, I have the camera set up here in the corner of the dining room, and I'm not going to drag it out to the kitchen to do this at the sink. So I do want to show you how this drains. So I'm just going to put this fabric on here kind of evenly and a little tight. And then just screw the lid down. And like I said, that's all there is to it. So you're just leaving this to soak until your seeds crack. And you really don't want them up on top of the jar like that. I guess I shouldn't have done that. Well, they're going to get up there anyway. And then you're going to drain them. And it takes a little bit to drain them. You have to have some patience. Like I said, you can buy things online. So you can buy a stand for this jar that just stands up, and you can set it in your sink, and you can just let it drain. I don't know that I would like doing that, because I wouldn't like all my seeds to rest up against my fabric. There's also little mesh lids that you can buy instead of using fabric They would probably work very well. I have not purchased one, so I don't know what size the holes are in them. So I'm really not sure. This works fine. With bigger seeds at least, maybe with this too, I don't know. I haven't tried it. A coffee filter works fine if you poke some holes in it. Once it's drained, or now it's going to pour right out and make a liar out of me because it doesn't always do that. Once these have soaked, you can just drain them. I mean, it's that simple. So in the morning, you're going to just drain them out. It drained right out, and it never does that. You do want to drain them really well. And then, I'm not gonna lie, you're supposed to prop this up and let it drain. That's what the stands are for. And you can also prop it up if you have a lid like this that you can set on the counter. You can prop it up in that lid. I rarely do that. I usually just leave it sit. But what you can do, really great tip, if you have a mixing bowl, I went and emptied this of water. Videos like magic, you didn't see me do that. Anyway, if you have a mixing bowl that has just a little bit of depth to it, you don't want anything like shallow and wide, then you can take another lid, another rim, and you can put it in the bottom, and you can just use that to stand the jar up right in the bowl and leave that sit on your counter. Once you've done that, you're just going to water your seeds every day. So I take my lid off, I put a little bit of water in there, I swish the seeds around, I drain them. You drain them immediately, you're not soaking them anymore, and then I set them like this until the next day when you do it again. And you want to do that until you're ready to eat them. With the alfalfa seeds, they're going to look like this, but it's going to be pretty clear to you when it's time to eat your seeds or your sprouts, because they're going to pretty much all be sprouted. There's not really going to be many seeds left in the jar. And folks, that's it. After that, you can keep them in your fridge. They last for about 2 weeks in the fridge is my experience. I've noticed that some of the bigger sprouts, like mung beans and pea sprouts, don't necessarily last as long. But you know what? If they're not slimy and they don't smell and they're not discolored, they're good. It's pretty easy to tell when they're no longer good. And you have incredible, look at those. They're beautiful. I hope you can see those. I really don't know if you can. They're beautiful. I mean, just amazing, amazing sprouts. So yeah, these are fabulous. I don't know if you can see that or not, but here, I'm going to put some in this bowl. Maybe all of them in this bowl so that you can see what we've got here. Most of the seeds that didn't sprout are still on the jar, so you get the idea of what's actually left in there. And it's not very much. And then these are sprouts. So, I mean, look at that. That is just pure deliciousness right there. Absolutely pure deliciousness right there. For real, look at that. That's amazing. I am going to take these and I am going to show you my very favorite way to eat sprouts. But like I said, sandwiches, wraps, salads, put them in your soups, put them in your smoothies, put them in your stir fries. I mean, if you can add sprouts to it, do it. Especially in the middle of the winter when you're not getting any of the powerful nutrients from fresh greens. These are really fresh greens. So make yourself some sprouts and enjoy them. I'll be right back to show you. I'm going to toast this, or at least the bottom half of it, and I'm going to show you my favorite way to eat sprouts. Alright, so I toasted half of that bun. That was just a little Peruvian roll, any kind of bread. Delicious. If I had like a grainy, like a really good organic whole grain bread. I can't get that in the stores here, and I need to learn how to make it. But if I had that, that would be perfect. So a toasted piece of bread and some avocado. I like to just squish my avocado out onto my bread. About half of a Haas avocado is just about perfect. You can take your avocado and you can put it in a bowl and you can mash it. That just is extra dishes and work for me. I just like to get it spread around on this bread. This is like the best way to eat avocados, or to eat sprouts. My son eats them this way too, but he doesn't like avocados. So tip for you if you're not an avocado fan, because I know that a lot of people aren't, you can use cream cheese on here instead, and it's amazing. So avocado, a little salt, a little pepper, maybe a lot of pepper, I like pepper, and some granulated garlic. Those are my 3 go-to spices. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to get some sliced tomato. In the summertime, I don't grow a lot of sprouts, but once tomatoes come around, I usually grow at least a jar. I should say last summer I did, because that's the first summer I really grew them. But I grow a jar because this is so much better with fresh tomato. Like a lot better. And then you're just going to take your sprouts and just cover the top with sprouts. Yummy, yummy. Maybe I got a little overzealous. But I mean, right there, that is fabulous stuff. We'll take a bite and we'll see what we think. Oh my gosh, this looks amazing. Yummy. Yay. Mm. Mm. Oh my goodness, garden freshness in March. Mmm. So good. So I hope you grow yourself some sprouts. Bring some garden freshness into your home this spring. You can do it all through next winter. It's something you're going to love. It's so good for you. Please hit the subscribe button down below and hit that notification bell so that you get notified every time that I put out a new video. And if you share this on your social media, you'll be doing me a big favor helping me expand the channel. I'd appreciate it a great deal. I love having you here, and we'll get together again real soon.